Hey folks, welcome to round 2. In this match, I'm going up against the G.I. Joe Ninjas and the Tanuki Tricksters. My opponent's army contains Jinx and Kamakura, Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, and 4 copies of the Tanuki Tricksters. Now, just like my previous opponent, I'd actually played an exhibition game against this opponent as well. Our armies had clashed before. I was able to just eke out the win in our exhibition game, but it was really close, and I feel like we both gained information about each other's armies that'll inform our decisions in this game. My opponent was really unfamiliar with how the Kraken worked, and I was really unfamiliar with how the G.I. Joe Ninjas worked. I think to some extent I'm still a little unfamiliar with how the G.I. Joe Ninjas work, but here's the gist of it. Basically, there's 2 heroes and then 1 unique squad that's a 2-figure squad, and the heroes can be activated via the unique squad bonding with them. Storm Shadow has the ability to Whirlwind Assault, which can be really effective against the Knaves later on in the game, and Snake Eyes has the ability to assassinate lone targets, which can be really effective against Savaris and the Crimson Widow. Jinx and Kamakura then just make this whole thing happen by being an order marker hub of sorts. Now, the Tanuki Tricksters help develop the entire army with Tanuki Aruki, so every time my opponent takes a turn with the Tanuki Tricksters, they can move their G.I. Joe Ninjas around. Now, had I brought a more normal army to this event, I wouldn't be as scared of this army. Like, if I had a bunch of Rannoch Vipers and Maladrix or something like that, I think I could pull out the win, but against my army specifically, these ninjas, and especially the Tanuki Tricksters, are really bad news for me. Because the entire army is so mobile, has Phantom Walk, and a lot of these characters have ranged attacks, I think Savaris is in hot water. The Tanuki Tricksters have beefy stats, so much so that Savaris can't reliably take them out each turn, and if I'm in range, like if I'm in a position where I can shoot a Tanuki Trickster, that means that if the Tanuki Trickster blocks the attack, it can then hit me the next turn by moving in close. Tanuki Tricksters can also push Savaris off of high ground or away from a jungle cover. There's just a lot of things they can do here that are really, really threatening. Also, one of the key functions of the Kraken tentacles is to tie up my opponent's figures from attacking Savaris, and that just can't happen if my opponent has Phantom Walk and can move through and away from them at will. So, essentially, I'm going into this game not expecting great results. Like I said, I'm trying to target the top 8, so this is an acceptable loss if it needs to be, but still, there is a little bit of hope here. I just need things to go right for me. Here we are on the map Expedition. The glyph in the north is Yadalkia, that's the disengage glyph, and the glyph in the south is Valda, that grants the army +2 move. Now, ninjas with +2 move is a terrifying thought, but so are knaves with +2 move, so I might want to contest that one later on in the game if I can. This is a map I practiced on quite a bit, and because of that, I know that Savaris can hit the opponent's start zone, order marker 1. My opponent and I roll for placement order in this matchup. I lose the roll, so I have to place my figures first. I put Savaris in the south, where he can try to contest Valda and potentially hit my opponent's start zone, and the Knaves and Crimson Widow huddle around the jungle tree bonus in the middle. My opponent then decides to place figures that are within the threat range of Savaris' order marker number 1 start zone attack. And that smells like a trap to me, because my opponent is definitely aware that this is a possibility. Still, it's not an opportunity I can afford to pass up. I think I do just have to move forward, lead with Savaris, and see if I can get some value out of him early. Because of the weakness of Savaris, there's a temptation to lead with the Knaves and Crimson Widow, but I think this is a mistake because the Knaves just don't have the mobility to keep up with the Tanuki Tricksters. The Tanuki Tricksters are going to get first attack down on the Knaves, and that's bad news. You don't want that. In addition, my opponent is smart enough to know that Savaris is a huge threat, so I fully anticipate if I leave Savaris in the start zone, they'll send a Tanuki Trickster or another ninja to go assassinate him while he's sleeping there. No, I think I need to stick with my game plan, just 3 order markers on Savaris and the X on Crimson Widow. Fingers crossed and hope for the best here. My opponent has done a 3-1 split between the Tanuki Tricksters and Jinx and Kamakura. I'm pretty sure all 3 of those order markers are on the Tanuki Tricksters though. Also, pro tip, you want to stay fully energized when you play in tournaments, so bring along snacks. The game begins, I win initiative, reveal order marker 1 on Savaris, summon a Kraken Tentacle, and move Savaris forward. I take my attack of 5 going down on the Tanuki Trickster in the start zone as my free space on the bingo card, but it's actually blocked. That's a bad omen. My opponent then reveals order marker number 1 on the Tanuki Tricksters and moves 2 of them forward, one of them within threat range of Savaris. My opponent is doing well to keep the Tanukis next to the tree bonuses, which is exactly the right call here, I think. The attack against Savaris is thankfully blocked, but a 3-on-2 has a good chance of going through. Every wound on Savaris just puts me that much closer to an utter blowout in my opponent's favor. I reveal order marker 2 on Savaris, summon another Kraken Tentacle, and proceed to make my opponent sit there for several minutes while I thought about this turn. My opponent graciously let me do this, and we had an hour time limit for each of the games, so we weren't at risk of running out of time necessarily. But yeah, I was definitely using up my time on the chess clock here. Basically, I was kind of stumped with what I should do here. Savaris is incredibly vulnerable to the Tanuki Tricksters. I need to protect him for as long as I can, but how best to do that was my question. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, so maybe I should move him forward and try to take out a couple of Tanuki Tricksters. If they're dead, they can't hurt you. Maybe I should retreat and try to take full advantage of my 9 range. The most interesting option for me, though, is the idea to command the Kraken this turn. The play in my head essentially went like this. The forwardmost Kraken Tentacle would move onto Valda to give the other tentacle 6 move to move onto height to attack down on this Tanuki Trickster. This attack would be a 5-on-4 given my height advantage and the bonus from the Crimson Widow. 5-on-4 should reliably deal a wound, but it would open Savaris up to suffering a 4-on-2 later on when my opponent reveals order marker 3 on the Tanuki Tricksters. Still, unless my opponent rolled all 4 skulls and I whiffed the defense roll, Savaris would be alive for order marker 3, so in retrospect, I kinda wish I had listened to my gut here and commanded the Kraken right here. Instead, I chose that second option, which was to retreat Savaris backwards. I only retreated so far that I could take 2 shots up at the Tanuki Trickster, but in doing so, I basically maximized my opponent's defense dice, because they get the jungle bonus and they get the height bonus. And I'm punished for it, because none of my attacks go through. So that's 3 attacks with Savaris this game, and none of them have connected. I'm kind of spiraling out of control now. So my opponent smells blood, and they start going for the jugular here. They reveal order marker 2 on the Tanuki Tricksters, and they move the Tanukis right up into the fray here. The first Tanuki uses Nagawaza to push Savaris away from the cover of the jungle tree, and then proceeds to deal 3 wounds to Savaris in 1 attack. Thankfully, the second Tanuki misses the attack roll, and I manage to hang on by the skin of my teeth. On to order marker 3 for me, and it's time to command the Kraken. I summon a 3rd Kraken Tentacle, move it onto Valda, and then proceed to use the other 2 Kraken Tentacles to kill the Tanuki Tricksters who tried to assassinate Savaris. This Kraken Tentacle is wounded because it took a leaving engagement attack to get to where it needed to be, and I think that was the right call here. You can afford to make risks like that and still get an attack in, rather than staying put and feeling tethered. I think in general, players should just be a little bit more willing to disengage from their opponents if the upside of doing so is really beneficial. In this case, I think it was totally worth it. The success of these attack rolls really makes me think that I should have used the Kraken earlier. Had I done so, I most likely would have killed one of the Tanuki Tricksters and had to only deal with 1 up in my fray. Then I could have used order marker 3 on Savaris himself to either retreat or to move forward and try to deal more damage to the advancing army. It may have resulted in roughly the same amount of equity, but I would have had better map control, and it would have felt like I was in the driver's seat a little bit more. Still, this is not a bad result for this order marker, and having the Kraken Tentacle on Valda will really help the pivot into the Knaves next round. Additionally, I am just trying to give my opponent other things to shoot at that aren't Savaris, but I don't think they're taking the bait. On order marker number 3, they step forward with 2 more Tanuki Tricksters, and they finish the job with Savaris. Additionally, they're able to snipe one of the Knaves in the start zone, which is really annoying. The Knave had jungle bonus and the bonus of being next to the Crimson Widow for the defense against range attacks, and still the shot connects and the Knave goes down. The loss of Savaris makes going into round 2 a little bit easier for me in an unfortunate way, because I don't have Savaris to take any turns with now. So the order markers are going on the Knaves primarily. Losing one of those Knaves in the last round, though, is super annoying, and that's really going to set me back here. So I only put 2 order markers on the Knaves because I feel like by the time order marker 3 comes around, they're probably all toast. So I've got to put that 3rd order marker somewhere else, and in this case I put it on the Kraken. The idea here is that the Knaves bond with Crimson Widow. Crimson Widow activates Midnight Raid to move the Knaves, or the Kraken Tentacles for that matter, forward, and then I either use the Crimson Widow as the bonding turn, or I intercept it with the Kraken, which the latter is more likely in this scenario. Then the Knaves dart in and do whatever kind of damage they can, so if I win initiative next round, I'm in good shape to do a lot of damage to my opponent here. Unfortunately, as my luck would have, I lose initiative here, and my opponent is able to snipe another Knave. It's just so annoying. Thankfully, the Kraken Tentacle they attacked is able to block, but now their Tanukis have commanding high ground, and they're reinforcing themselves with Tanuki Iruki. It's just bad news all around. Still, my order marker 1 is on the Knaves, and I'm able to make the best of a bad situation. I bond with Crimson Widow, who reveals the X order marker to activate Midnight Raid, moving 2 of the Knaves forward. Then I intercept the Crimson Widow's turn with the Kraken, and I launch in with 2 of the Kraken Tentacles to attack Tanuki Tricksters, moving with that boosted +2 move from Valda that I acquired earlier. And I actually get both kills, which is insanely huge. Even the one on height, that's just awesome. My 2 remaining Knaves then take their turn, and they get both of their kills too. So I'm able to kill 2 squads of Tanuki Tricksters with 1 order marker. Wow. I think this just perfectly demonstrates the inherent swinginess of this army that I'm running. It's such a glass cannon build. All of my attacks are with 4 dice or more, but my defense rolls are like 2 or 3, so I can kill things if I can hit them. Well, most of the time, not Savaris as much, but the Kraken and the Knaves are just, they're putting in work. They're doing a great job here. Had one or both of the Knaves actually blocked those attacks earlier, I would now be in a really good position. I think this army that I'm running would actually really benefit from a Deflectatron in it. If I had the points, I surely would have, but dropping a Deflectatron down for the Knaves to huddle around, to kind of like form up around that could be huge for keeping them protected, so that they can launch out and actually do damage later. So now my opponent's hurting a little bit here. They reveal order marker 2 on the Tanuki Tricksters, but they've only got 2 left. One of them moves forward and is able to kill a full life Kraken Tentacle. That sucks. But the other one misses its attack against the Knave. My order marker number 2 is on the Knaves, who bond with Crimson Widow. I move her onto the road tile next to the jungle bush here, just so I can stage her for later. And then I just casually proceed to take out the last 2 Tanuki Tricksters using the Knaves. It's kind of insane. My opponent then loses their order marker 3, which is huge. It's huge to kill order markers like that, so I'm feeling really good about the value the Knaves have been able to generate. Sadly though, my 3rd order marker isn't on the Knaves, and had it been, I think this could have completely swung the game around in my favor, because the knaves could then dart in and do a ton of extra damage onto the G.I. Joe ninja heroes. But if you remember the board state back at the start of the round, that's when you're planning your order markers, right? And in that moment, I had already lost one of my knaves to a Tanuki attack. And I think had I not, I probably would have put all of the order markers on the knaves. And that could have completely changed the game. So that one attack going through kind of snowballs, right? It's a domino knock-on effect that affects the rest of the game. So unfortunately, I have to reveal order marker 3 on the Kraken tentacle, and it moves forward and does a couple of wounds to, I think that's Snake Eyes. My opponent painted them in opposite colors to what they are on the card there, but it's the one that can assassinate figures. So yeah, do a couple of wounds there. You know, it's okay. It would have been better had the order marker been on the knaves, but there's no real world where I would have done that, I think. At least given the scenario I was in at the start of the round. So setting up for round 3, my opponent's order markers get really easy. You just dump them all on Jinx and Kamakura and go to town with your G.I. Joe ninjas. For me though, I have to try to extract as much value from my remaining pieces as possible. Order marker 1 on the knaves is critical here. If I lose initiative, I think I just lose the game, so I have to plan on winning initiative. My knaves are toast no matter what I do, but I kind of want my opponent to over-prioritize taking them out. So what I decide to do here is I put the X order marker on the knaves, so that there's 2 order markers on the knaves. I want my opponent to think that they've really crippled me if they kill all the knaves off the board. So then the last 2 remaining order markers are real order markers. I'm going to put the 2 on the Kraken and the 3 on Crimson Widow. Now, the whole game, the X has been on Crimson Widow, and that's been kind of the bluff, but not really a bluff, because my opponent knows it's the X. It triggers the Midnight Raid, and it also gives all my pirate figures +1 attack, so it's pretty obviously the X order marker on Crimson Widow most of the time. However, I want to switch things around now. The opportunity presents itself. Crimson Widow is going to have to start activating on her own anyways, and anytime I reveal a real order marker on her, I can summon another Kraken tentacle. I still have 2 off the board there, so I got to get those onto the board somehow. Yeah, I really like my order marker placement this round. I think this is the right call. All I need to do is win initiative and hope for the best. Well, I win initiative, but not everything goes for the best here. Order marker number 1 is on the knaves. The Kraken attacks, I think it's Snake Eyes again. Yeah, the assassinate G.I. Joe ninja hero. But I'm not able to finish the job here. So he's got 3 wounds, only 1 life remaining. That's really unfortunate, but I did what I could. The knaves then rush in, sensing that Storm Shadow, the one with whirlwind attack, is the next biggest threat. And even though I send 2 knaves to do the job, they also don't get the job done and instead merely wound him. This was my big attack. This was the big moment where I could do everything as much as I could, full barrage, and it just, didn't work here. I think I chose my targets well. I don't think I would change the way that I handled this, but yeah, the dice results just didn't favor me this time around. So, unfortunately, what this means is that on my opponent's order marker number 1, they're able to just clean up my entire attack force. That ultimately was to be expected, but I really wanted to put my opponent in a position where they wouldn't be able to take out the Kraken tentacle, and instead could only take out the knaves, because they were focus firing knaves, because they saw the order marker on the knaves, like the extra X order marker, I mean. That didn't happen, though. They just wiped them all out, so yeah. What felt like a winnable game only moments ago quickly shifted into what I think is pretty much an unwinnable game. My order marker 2 is on the Kraken, which is unfortunately 1 space out of range of any of the ninja heroes, so I can't attack with it this turn. I decide instead to consolidate and move it towards the Crimson Widow. My opponent then moves their ninjas onto high ground, positioning Snake Eyes in a really great assassination spot to try to draw the Crimson Widow out first. They make some attacks against the Kraken tentacle, but I'm able to block them. I then reveal order marker 3 on Crimson Widow, and can you spot what I forgot to do? If you said summon a Kraken Tentacle, you'd be right. Unfortunately, I only noticed this after my opponent had taken their next turn, and by that point in time, it's too late to go back and add it onto the board. But yeah, this is a pretty huge blunder. I just forgot about that power in this moment here, and those Kraken Tentacles are really tough to get onto the board, and having them on the board could really help me in an endgame situation like this, but yeah, unfortunately I forgot about it, and that's going to cost me, I think. Instead, she just moves forward, makes a normal attack, and it is blocked. My opponent then reveals their last order marker on Jinx and Kamakura. Snake Eyes darts forward, does his assassinate thing, deals 3 wounds to Crimson Widow, and then across the 2 remaining attacks from Jinx and Kamakura, the Crimson Widow takes 1 additional wound, so she's down to 1 life at the end of the round. Had I remembered to summon that Kraken Tentacle, I think my order markers going into the next round would be a little easier. I think it'd be 1 order marker on Crimson Widow, and then the remainder on the Kraken, with perhaps the X being on Crimson Widow. I think that'd be a good place for it as well. But as is, gosh, this is gonna be pulling a rabbit out of a hat in order to pull out the win here. Still, I don't really see a better option, so I just go with that order marker distribution and kind of hope for the best. I am able to win initiative, however, so I summon another Kraken Tentacle and then intercept the Crimson Widow's turn and command the Kraken. The Kraken Tentacles move out and acquire some targets. One of them's finally able to finish off Snake Eyes, and the other one puts 2 wounds on one of the squad members of Jinx and Kamakura. Not great, but not terrible. I think I'm missing the photo of my opponent's turn, but they reveal order marker 1 on Jinx and Kamakura, and they're able to kill the Crimson Widow. I then reveal order marker 2 on the Kraken and take 2 height attacks down on Storm Shadow, who has Shadow Tile underneath. I haven't been talking about this, but he can summon Shadow Tiles at will or whatever. It doesn't matter. The attacks are blocked, which is just brutal. My opponent then uses Whirlwind Assault and their last 2 remaining ninjas to clean up the board and win the game. Oh, the difference a single knave can make. You know, when you think back to the start of round 2, having only 3 knaves in that position versus having 4 knaves really affects the way that you distribute your order markers. Had I had all 4, I think I would have put all 3 of my order markers on the knaves rather than splitting it up and hedging a little bit. And that would have had a tremendous impact on that turn where my opponent had lost all of their figures, all their Tanuki Tricksters. I would have been able to engage some figures in my opponent's start zone. And then, you know, you have to rely on those shots connecting and whatnot. But yeah, you know, that would have made the game a little bit closer. In addition, you know what else would have made the game a little bit closer is summoning the Kraken Tentacle at the end of the round there. I think that was round 3, at the end of round 3 or 4. Yeah, getting that summoning in so that I can use it the following turn, or the following round, I should say. Yeah, that's a pretty big blunder. So folks, remember your abilities. Remember the powers that are written on your cards, because they're there for a reason. They help you out. So yeah, you know, in the moment I wasn't too bummed about this one, but looking back on it now, I think my chances of victory were maybe a little bit higher than I thought they were in the moment. I kind of saw this loss as being a foregone conclusion when I sat down at the table. I still tried to play the best I could, but I knew that I was fighting an uphill battle against those Tanuki Tricksters. Like Savaris against the Tanukis is just really bad for Savaris. And unfortunately, I built my army in a way that really, really, really relies on Savaris surviving round 1, so yeah. Anyways, that puts my tournament standings at 1 win, 1 loss, and we'll see you next time when we move into round 3.